Then you've got to take a look at the current process. And the current process looks simply like this. It doesn't give much flexibility of how a policyholder gets to log a claim because they generally still have to pick up the phone. 80% of policyholders still prefer to pick up the phone so they can talk to some people. It's actually changing now. There's also online, but online just to submit a form and it lands somewhere for someone else to log in another system is not efficient. Being able to share information, triage, life or death, yes or no answers, to be able to organise quickly mitigation activities. So get your fence repaired, get the tree cut down, get the tarp on the roof. But let me show you an example of, and I'm going to go through a slow example, an actual example of frustration. This is one from one of our frustration analysis pieces. So I'm throwing myself under the bus here. So in the first 72 hours, you'll all relate to these are the stakeholders we just spoke about then, and the most important stakeholders who get to lodge that claim or know about that claim straight away. Now, this applies not just to property claims. You've got a policyholder who's got some damage, they've suffered some loss. We're just using an example of quite a severe catastrophe here. Policyholder logs their claim with their broker or goes direct to their insurer. And guess what the insurer or broker generally asks? What's happened? Now, if go back to the doctor and go back to the triage, if I come in, the question I want to pose here is that the best process to collect the fastest and best information straight away? Because I guarantee you if I showed you another, and I'll show you another slide here in a second, but if I showed you another slide in the top right-hand corner and I didn't actually draw that picture the way I drew it, you would probably just see the tree on the roof. And most non-technical people will share this information. A large tree has impacted my roof. So the broker says, okay, large tree has impacted my roof, I'm going to contact the insurer. They send, guess what they give the insurer? Large tree has impacted my roof. So by the time it gets down to someone who can do something about it, either the property assessor or the emergency services, the only information they get is, large tree has fallen on my roof. But here's where the frustration starts. Because non-technical people, and this is not a criticism of the industry, so not a criticism of brokers or insurers or providers. This is just, I think we've got, and I'll just be frank here, I think we've got the process arse about face. I think if we can connect non-technical people to technical people very quickly in the first 24 to 48 hours, we can get a better result. And a proposed model could generally look like this. So what if you had the ability to be able to say a policyholder could make one call or go online? They could be guided through a really intelligent, smart triage process. And that triage process could gather critical information such as I can validate, well, here could be the experience. Using technology and a re-engineered process, you could have a validation of policy and an identification of the policyholder instantaneously. The policyholder then relays information that they've not just tree has fallen on my house. Tree has fallen on my house, and the next lot of questions say, do you have electricity? No. Mrs. Smith, can you just go outside and just tell me if the tree's actually fallen across the power lines? Yes. Mrs. Smith, can you see if the point of attachment or where your electricity cable is connected, because I'm using plain English because I need to speak to Mrs. Smith, she's not technical, has been removed from your house? Oh yes, and actually the timber's actually broken away. All right, great. Mrs. Smith, the tree's landed on your roof. Is your roof damaged? Yes, it is. It's got a big hole in it. The water's coming in everywhere. It's flooding my lounge room. Okay. So in my head or in the system, I'm deducting all the things that need to happen on the first initial call. Mrs. Smith, the water that's in your house, in your lounge room now, is it still there? Yeah, it's half a foot of water and my TV and everything else is wet, my carpets are wet, my floors, my walls are buckling, I need drying equipment in here. I'm going to get spoilage in my fridge, and the most important thing, I haven't got any iPads for the kids. So all of these things on that first initial call can be gathered. Now it's not about can, this is actually happening now. It's happening now in intelligent triage processes, very similar. Number one rule of presenting, turn your phone off. Sorry, I lost my train of thought then. Can I call him back and just let him know? No, just kidding. Let me just turn that down. Losing all the contents. So all of a sudden I've identified all of these things. And if you're using the yes, no, save your life example in the emergency room, you've got the ability to collect all this information, and not just collect it, you've got the ability then to be able to connect it to immediate mitigation actions. So what's the implications of that? Reduced costs for insurers. Okay, I promise you this, lock up a house that's been wet for 3 weeks and have the assessor turn up 3 weeks later, and you watch the second and third damage that's occurred through mould, particularly up here. Oh, my expensive cost has gone up. Well, and most people shift their focus to the supply chain. I'm telling everyone, if we shift our focus to gathering information up front better, faster at the start, where mitigation actions and emergency services can be applied, not only will you get a customer result, but you'll impact significantly average claims cost. So who wins there? The broker? The broker wins because all of a sudden the client and the customer, whose their agenda is being focused on. The insurer, because there's a mitigation of cost, there's a mitigation of damage, there's potentially no temporary accommodation that needs to be required. But it needs to consider a potential model. And this is just a concept that we've created into technology that works, but this is just a concept that we're putting out there today to suggest, hey, listen, the broker needs to be fully informed, the insurer needs cost, quality and life cycle focused on, but do they really need to be passing tree impact on my roof to tree impact on my roof, to ensure a log's tree impact on my roof, to who sends tree impact to a roof? Do they need to do that over 2 to 3 days, or can we better connect technical people with non-technical people to be able to collect information very quickly to act same day?